Be making basics.
What's good, YouTube? Be Making Basics back again with another dope video. If you're new to my channel, please do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe, as well as give me a like and a comment on the video if you like today's content. But without further ado, let's jump in. Now, what we're going to be covering is how to make, or actually how to mix, a pop beat. Okay, so a pop style beat, something that you would hear Chris Brown, Tory Lanez on, etc. Okay. First things first, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all check out the beat. What I'm gonna do though before we do that is I'm gonna come over here to the mixer and we're gonna turn it down just a little bit so it's not blaring. And I'm also gonna go ahead and change this tempo to the tempo of the beat, which is 90 BPM. And so what we'll do is we're gonna actually go to the hook, and I'm just gonna let y'all hear some of the beats. So I'm just gonna play it, let y'all check it out, and then we're gonna get straight into mixing it. Alright, so as you can see, I mean, it sounds pretty nice, but you know, without it being mixed, you're not really going to get that full effect of the beat. So let's go ahead and jump right in. First things I'm going to do is go ahead and turn everything down. And then what I want to do is go ahead and group some of these tracks together. So like, for instance, get the drums. And we're going to bus those, send those to a bus and to an auxiliary track, excuse me. And then I'm going to do the same with the melody. And I'm just going over here to where it says output, and we're sending it over here to an auxiliary track. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's see here. We'll say drums. Reason why I want to do that is just in case I want to process just like a whole group. So just like, say if I want to process the whole melody or turn it up or down, it will make it easier by having it on this auxiliary track here. All right, so now that that's created, next thing we want to do is focus on the actual drums. That's going to be the main part of the song, you know what I mean? So that's what we'll do. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the leveling, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to turn this kick up. All right, cool. So now that we got the drums pretty much on point, we also got an 808 mixed in there. Now let's start working on the actual melody. So I'm going to bring this flute in first. This is actually one of the main parts of the song. Then we'll start bringing in some of these other instruments here. right, cool. So I feel like we have some pretty good levels going. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and actually do what's called subtractive EQing. And this is where I'm going to be taking out some of the frequencies of certain instruments to make room for other frequencies. So let's just go ahead and talk about that for a second. Like, for instance, this 808 and this kick has a lower frequency range, or on the frequency chart. So you can see more of the frequencies here on this side pushing through to make up that kick and that 808. Well, if you have other frequencies, like say on this flute, for instance, more of the frequencies are higher here. So what you could do to make room for those lower frequencies on the kick is cut out some of these higher frequencies or the lower frequencies on the flute. So anyway, we're gonna do some of that. I'm just gonna go ahead and go through it, and we'll get it going. And believe it or not, like, these little changes right here are going to make sure that the mix is not sounding muddy. It's going to make sure the mix sounds clean and crisp, and you know, those type of things right there. So don't skip this step right here. All right, so I'm also going to do it on the drums here. Hold it down option. It's going to drag some of this stuff over here, and then I will adjust it. Now I've also found, like, on the kick, like if I take out, like, say everything below 30 hertz or 40 hertz, gives a nice little punch to the kick. All right, now you can also do subtractive EQing on the higher frequencies as well. Like, for instance, on this 808, I'm gonna take out all these high frequencies right here. It's really not needed on that instrument. And it'll help out with all the higher frequencies in the other instruments. All right, bet. So now that we have that done, the next thing I'm gonna do is work on panning. So panning is where you're gonna be pushing certain instruments to the left or the right, and what that's gonna do is create, like, space and a depth sound in the beat. All right, cool. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be give it enough, interesting vibe with the panning. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and keep on going in on this mix. I'm gonna go ahead and save. Push Command S. Make sure you're doing that along the way with your mixing. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take this guy right here, which is the end marker, and bring him very all the way to the end of the beat right here. And we're gonna do some other things here. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the mixing window and turn these drums down just a little bit. And one thing I see that I want to do is on this flute, I want to add a little bit of reverb. I use what's called a hollow room, and so we're going to throw that on there. And we could put this reverb on several different ways. I could also have put it on the send and sent this over there. So like, for instance, if I do that, I come over here. Just move a copy art over here like that. Mute this one out. All right, so I think that sounds pretty good. Some other things that we can do, like say on this 808, we can come over here and maybe add just a little bit of what's called R bass, which stands for Renaissance bass, and it just adds this a little bit more of a punch or oomph to low end sounds. So I'm gonna add that in there, play around with this. Subtle, but you know what I mean, it makes all the difference. Same thing we could do here. We could let's listen to the kick and snare and see if we do want to add a little more punch to it. We don't necessarily have to. Just listening to it, it's already pretty punchy. But like what you could do is add this R bass to the kick if you wanted to have a little bit more of a low end to it. Ooh, yeah. I'm telling you, man, that R bass, when I put that on that 808, really this is more so of a sub sound. But that 808 and that kick, telling y'all, man, don't sleep on that. Now, you don't want to put it too much, add it too much, but play around with the knobs on here. For this beat, I'm just gonna kind of keep it right here. What I did here is, hold on, let me show you this. What I did here is I pushed that frequency down, as y'all saw, and basically you can play around with the frequencies here, and it will basically emphasize certain frequencies. And so for an 808, some of those lower frequencies are what you want to emphasize. As you can see here, actually right around where I emphasized it, like 55-ish, between 55 and 60, that actually was where the peak of the 808 was. And so that's why I did that as far as the frequency boost. And then over here, this is a frequency of 80. And I guarantee you, if you come over here and look at the kick, yeah, you know what I'm saying, we're right around that area from 60 to 80-ish. And then it starts to peel on off as it goes through there. So just things to keep in mind, man. Now, what we could do as far as compression wise, I always use what's called smack attack pretty much on all of my instruments that I want to, punch to the mix. All right, so it's really pretty much done. There's obviously more things you can do to this, but I don't want to add too much like reverb or too much, too many effects to the beat. You know what I mean? Just want to just level it out, make sure it sounds clean, and I feel like that's what we have accomplished here. Now, before I go and listen to a reference track, which is basically a track that's already mixed and mastered that sounds similar to this, what I'm going to do is actually go to the stereo out. And this is something I've been doing lately on my beats. I go to waves and I actually find the SSL plugin to go on the master. So basically SSL is it's a plugin by Solid State Logic, and it's for the master bus, and it basically make it sound a little bit more, industry standard, if you will. All right, cool. So we pretty much have a good solid mix here. Some other things I could do is go over here to Isotope and add this Isotope plugin. I usually just use some of the simple features on it, like the maximizer. I don't want to get too heavy into trying to master the beat and everything like that. But I'll just knock this down negative 0.1 dB. And then I play around with the threshold here. And I also can come over here to IRC4 and hit the transients right there. So let's just check out the beat now. And so basically what I was doing there is just making sure that the beat overall is loud, but it's not like distorting or nothing is like basically being altered in the beat by me pressing the threshold on this master. So that's what I'm listening for. Basically, what else could we do here? All right, so yeah, I had the speakers turned pretty low just to basically get a different vibe, you know what I mean, and to be able to hear everything. Because sometimes when you turn the mix all the way up, like in your speakers, you can't hear certain things. So I'm gonna listen to it for a little bit there. So even there, I just heard that the flute was just a little bit too loud. So another thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and listen to it also in headphones. Let's see what it sounds like this way. And y'all probably not going to be able to tell a difference or whatever, but I'm listening to it and hear it in different environments, whatever. That's what y'all want to do as well. Man, I think that mix sounds pretty sweet. Um, so another thing that we could do again is use a reference track based on the fact that we do have copyright. I'm not going to be including the audio from that reference track. All right, so now we've listened to the reference track, and now I'm just going to listen to the beat one more time to see if there's anything I want to change on the beat. All right, y'all. So basically, we're at the end here. I just made a few adjustments based on that reference track. I turned down the snare just a little bit, and I also turned down some of the instruments in the mix and messed around a little bit with the panning. But overall, the beat is done. I want to say thank y'all so much for watching. Make sure you grab the free course as well as any other things that you see in the description below. And I will see you all in the next video. Appreciate y'all watching, and we're out.